Now, we all know the Los Angeles Dodgers are a storied franchise, and one man has been telling their stories for 37 years through his photographs, and that's team photojournalist Jon SooHoo. In my feature story today, you will meet Jon SooHoo and many other people that will tell you why he is so very special. Here's Jon's story.
How did your love of photography begin?
Probably my uncle was probably one of the biggest influences. He would take us to these things called the Frank's photo shoots, and they bring these models out to his ranch out in Antelope Valley, and it was sponsored by Frank's Camera Store, and so the photographers would go to these places and shoot these scantily clad women posing as models, and so I just kind of like joined on board and started going with him. And then my other uncle, he would shoot all the family Christmases, and he posed all the families in front of the tree. In our evening session, he would have, probably like 12 different families go through there and take family portraits in front of the Christmas tree. And he did that for years. That's just one of the things that kind of stood out in my mind, is that, well, maybe this is something I could really want to do.
And so his early love of photography began with family until he had a meeting with legendary NBA photographer Andy Bernstein, who was looking for some help.
Andy, I met there at the old LA Sports Arena. USC basketball played there, and so did the Clippers. And so on one of the changeover days, when I think it was Saturday game, USC women played at the Sports Arena. Clippers were playing at night. And so I sat down to shoot the SC game, because I normally do that, and he came and sat down to get ready to shoot the Clipper game. And so we started talking, hit it off, and I started doing all the manual labor of printing for him.
But what happened in 1988 not only changed the Dodgers' fate, but Jon's fate too.
In 1988, the conflict that Andy had with NBA Photos was that he would have to travel overseas late in the year to be with NBA Photos shooting the Celtics or whatever in Europe or China or wherever they went.
Right.
And so whatever was left here that had to be handled, someone had to handle it. So probably from 88 on-ish, I was doing heavy account handling. It's pretty incredible, because I didn't, honestly, I didn't really follow baseball that much. I mean, I've gone to games before, but never understood the meaning of NLCSs and World Series parts of it. And so when we first got to go to New York for the NLCS, Andy got the flu, and so he's struggling in the hotel. He was horrible that night. He couldn't do anything. Any of those I think it was three games there. And anyway, he was sick as a dog, so I was shooting like crazy, because that's what I was supposed to do. I was a black and white guy, and at Shea Stadium, I was shooting overhead in the corridor, the concourse. He was on the field. But shortly after that Game 7, he told me that he's gonna have to go to Europe with the Celtics. I think it was the Celtics in '88. And so after Game 1 of Gibby hitting a home run, he had to go to LAX and fly out. And so the rest of Game 2, all the way to the White House, it was on my shoulders. As a 1988, so I was born in '62. So how many years is that? I was 26 years old, and so essentially I was covering a lot of Dodger everything at that time. But the key for me is anybody could take a picture of a game action between the lines. It's what you could do outside those lines, and how much of a relationship you can build with the people that you're photographing. And if you have the access and the opportunity, you should take advantage of that, because in the end, your integrity matters more than anything.
And Jon's integrity has been a bright light that everyone around him can see.
At the closing, when we were signing the documents to buy the team, a photographer comes into the room. Now, usually these things in lawyers' offices are very private, but the old ownership treated him like he was family. And he became our family. We kind of adopted him. He kind of came with the deal, but he was there. Everyone trusted him implicitly, which is what we really came to understand very, very quickly. He became part of our family instantly, like on the first day.
I think the trust is, in baseball, it's one of those things where you build trust from players and staff through time. And I think that, and also word of mouth. And Jon has obviously been with the Dodgers for so long, and word travels. And he's always, he's very humble, as everyone that's met him knows. but he's always about the Dodgers, and he's always about making everyone look good, capture moments, and I think that's another thing that just cements the trust that we all have in him.
He's been there over 30 years, so he's earned that trust from generations of players now. And when you get in there, the older guys are just like, hey, this is Jon, he's our team photographer, he's going to be around all the time, and you just immediately get to know him and you get comfortable with him being around, and he's amazing at his job because he never feels like he's intruding, but you also want him there because you want to capture some of the amazing moments that the Dodgers seem to always have, right? And guys like Sandy Koufax, and when Tommy would be around and he could, capture those moments and get pictures for yourself, for your social media or whatever, you'd always try and take advantage of Jon being there, and he seemed like he's always there and in a good mood and ready for whatever you needed, so we're just lucky to have him.
Over the years, and something I talk to the players a lot about, is you have a way about you where they trust you, they feel comfortable with you being around. You're really the journalist that they completely 100% trust. And it's just your way about you. Over the years, was that something learned, or do you feel like that was something innate?
I gotta believe that's a lot of mom and dad in me as far as personality goes, because anybody could with a camera thinks they could be a photographer, and so that's the difference, is that the relationships you build with these people, these players, these managements, these owners, they matter. I'm here for them. I'm trying to get them to appreciate their careers during their careers.
Jon SooHoo has been the team photographer here for 37 years. What is your first memory of him?
Well, first of all, I'm 37, so he's been here since I was born. That just tells you how old he is. But no, getting to work with Jon over the last 9 years has been incredible. I think, especially in today's day and age with so much technology and video and social media, the old-fashioned photography, capturing moments, capturing, pillars of our careers, I think is kind of overlooked a little bit. So I have a huge appreciation for Jon and what he does and the lookbooks that he puts together for us every single year. And I have a couple big blown up canvases that he gifted me in my house, photos that he took from the 2017 walk-off. So he's just a special person, and we appreciate him so much, and couldn't be happier to get to meet such a great guy.
We just hit it off from the get-go, and Jon was always that guy that he was sort of everywhere, but he was invisible. And then you see all these pictures come out from nowhere, and he just had that trust with everybody, and he was a lot older than I thought he was. And the funny thing is, I joke with him even today. It's like, dude, we're all aging, but you still look the same as you always did. So he's just so talented, and now, honestly, he is just one of my really, really good friends.
Jon has a very calming presence that people love. And somehow he has been able to survive, 37 years of going on the road, being at every game. It's amazing to me because I know after, we have a long homestand and we're working every day, I think, oh, I'm ready for a day off. And here he's going on the road and loving it. And I just think there's something about his personality that is so calming and pleasant to people that he's been able to sort of go with the flow of all the different ownerships and, make a name. And he's so dependable. His work is so solid that everyone loves him.
I think every time you get called up and you see the pictures from your first day, Jon's behind it once you get here and get to know everybody. And I have pictures of my family being here, of Ellen, seeing her in the parking lot and all these things. And I know that was SooHoo. So he's been here forever. He's had so many great memories captured, and I'm probably not as appreciative as I should be of the memories, but I know when I retire and get to look back on everything, it'll be pretty cool.
So many moments and memories to reflect on, and both Jon and Clayton share a favorite.
Sandy and Clayton walking in a portrait, I was going to try to do a portrait of them in the bullpen. Actually, I was trying to do out in left field, but Sandy didn't want to go out there. So I walked them down the back tunnel, Clayton in uni, in his whites, and Sandy in his gray, because he was going to be in the old timers game. And so we're walking down the back tunnel, and they start talking to each other, and I was leading the walk, and there's something inside of my head, just knocked me in the head and said, hey, turn around, you idiot. There's something going on really cool behind you. And they were just chatting as they're walking towards me. And I got the wall. I was able to get real low, the walls on the side that made it look kind of, it just looked kind of historical. And so that to me is like one of my favorite, Dodger moments of my photos, of a photograph that I like.
There's a picture of Sandy and I back in that tunnel, and I've got that framed. I think that's pretty special. Just to, Sandy means a lot to me, and to have that moment captured is pretty cool.
Lastly, the players told me that you always put a book together every year. Tell me about that.
If you can imagine starting from, winter workouts into spring training into photo day to family, well, now we have more families on the fields than ever before. And so I'm shooting, whatever my staff, and I shoot kids with their parents running around, like Father's Day, there'll be another one, Mother's Day is another one. So all these events, I try to compile into a book. And the book is a coffee table style book that I put together just for owners and players. And a handful of trainers that, all the people that happen to be in it, I'll make it for them. And I can't make a bunch because I don't want to get in trouble with legal upstairs, but it is my gift to whoever, especially in the ownership. When you see these, we have how many owners do we have? But they have all kids that have grown from little guys up until big old adults now. And so those memories are freaking huge.
So every year he puts these amazing books together. They're like coffee table books. I mean, like, 1.5 by a foot, giant, hardback books. And they kind of just go from the start of spring training to the end of the season. And he kind of, timelines the whole season and tries to get everyone in the mix, and not just players, but like staff and anyone from the organization so that they feel involved. And he only makes like X amount of them and tries to give them to the players and their families. And I know guys that got them from every year, and especially from like the World Series years, some of the deep playoff runs. They're just, really like, is the word commemorate? They commemorate the seasons really well with like pictures like, oh my gosh, I remember that, or oh my gosh, I forgot he was here, or whatever, and think about in 20, 30 years when you look back, it'll instantly bring back memories from, those seasons and how fun they were.
I think Jon does a really good job of kind of not being the forefront of anything, and that's a compliment, because I think at times, photographers try to take up your attention, and if you do that, people will lose interest and they don't want you around. But Jon is always like making sure that he's in the background, getting all the big moments, but you don't really know he's getting all the big moments, if that makes sense. And he just has a great feel for how to do it, and he takes great pictures too. It's always fun to look at his books and over the years and see everything that he's done. So I think just generally his personality too. I think guys get to know him and enjoy being around him, and that helps with the picture taking for sure.
He's got a great sense of humor. We all bust his chops. Vin Scully used to love teasing him about the pictures that he takes. And in the old days, you wouldn't have as many outlets to see these pictures, okay? So Vin would say, I don't know what you're doing with these, but they're somewhere in the ether, and I don't know what you're gonna do with them someday. Now, we see 100 of his photos every night. He posts them every night. I do know, whether it's ownership or members of the team, look forward to getting that email every day of Jon's pictures, and they're always great. And we couldn't have remembered the last 10 years that I've been here without the work of Jon SooHoo. He publishes a book at the end of every year with some of his best pictures, and they're always great, and they're always keepsakes that all of us will treasure for the rest of our lives.
I love being where I'm at, and I'm going to do everything. I never take it for granted for a moment, because I know it can be gone in a moment. So I'm going to enjoy the ride, and I've been blessed by God to do this, and so I'm just going to continue doing it.